You know that feeling when you just slip beneath the surface of the water and suddenly the world just explodes with color?
Oh, yeah.
Coral reefs are kind of like that, but, turned up to 11. A vibrant, bustling city underwater, teeming with life.
It really is an experience that just stays with you.
Definitely. So today, we're taking a deep dive into these incredible ecosystems. We're looking at where you can witness their magic and, just as importantly, how we can help keep them thriving.
Exactly. We've got two really fantastic sources that kind of pull in different but complementary directions here.
Okay.
First up, there's an article from Scubaverse. It's basically a treasure map to some of the world's most breathtaking coral reefs for snorkelers.
Like inspiration for your next trip.
Pretty much. Your inspiration for the next underwater adventure.
And then to balance out that wanderlust, we're also digging into a really insightful guide from the Nature Conservancy. And this one focuses more on coral reef restoration, with a specific look at how the tourism industry, which, let's face it, benefits hugely from healthy reefs,
Hugely.
is actually becoming a key player in their conservation.
Yeah, our goal really is to connect those dots for you. We want to highlight these stunning underwater places, but also unpack the critical role the tourism sector plays in actually safeguarding their future.
Getting those aha moments.
Exactly, giving you a deeper understanding of this whole fascinating world.
Okay, sounds great. Let's get started with those dream destinations then. That Scubaverse article really sparked my imagination.
Mine too.
What I liked is how they categorized them.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a random list. It felt like they'd sort of anticipated different travel styles.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it, I think. Breaking it down into categories like, say, family-friendly or luxurious, it lets you kind of zoom in on what fits your style.
Right. Makes it less overwhelming.
Definitely. Makes a huge world of options feel much more manageable.
Absolutely. So for those of you maybe traveling with little ones, Egypt sounds like a real winner. He specifically mentioned Sharm el-Sheikh, saying it's like swimming in a giant aquarium. Calm, clear waters, perfect for all ages.
Sounds ideal.
And then there's Marsa Alam, a bit further south. Apparently you have this incredible chance to spot dolphins, dugongs, even turtles. Can you imagine seeing a dugong?
Wow. That's the kind of thing that creates lifelong memories, isn't it?
Totally.
And what's interesting about those Egyptian Red Sea reefs is their resilience. They seem to be holding up better against rising water temperatures compared to some other places.
That's good to know. Okay, then they hopped over to Australia,
Yeah.
highlighting both the Great Barrier Reef, the icon, obviously,
A big one.
and the lesser known, but apparently equally spectacular, Ningaloo Reef.
Yeah, Ningaloo's amazing.
The Great Barrier Reef, of course, is just this massive underwater city of biodiversity. You might even see reef sharks or whales migrating in winter.
Right. But Ningaloo, over on the west coast, that's the place if you want to swim alongside whale sharks. These huge, gentle giants.
Bucket list item for sure.
Definitely. And what makes Ningaloo quite special is how accessible it is. You can often snorkel right from the shore to see incredible stuff. It's a different feel to the vastness of the GBR.
Makes sense. Okay, now, if luxury is more your thing, prepare to be a bit jealous.
Uh-oh.
Raja Ampat in Indonesia. It's nestled right in the Coral Triangle.
Which, yeah, highest marine biodiversity on Earth. It's incredible.
So manta rays, whale sharks, these incredibly vibrant, soft corals. They say the best way to really see it all is by a liveaboard cruise.
Yeah, the Coral Triangle is like the Amazon of the oceans, basically. A real biodiversity hotspot. So Raja Ampat being a jewel within that, it just tells you how rich it is underwater.
For sure. Then there's Wakatobi, also in Indonesia. This one sounds more remote, pristine. Huge sponges, massive corals, just packed with life. Lots of sea turtles, too.
Sounds incredible.
And, of course, the Maldives. Classic luxury overwater bungalows.
Dream escape.
They mention easy snorkeling right off the shore at many resorts, plus amazing chances to swim with whale sharks and mantas, especially at a place called Hanifaru Bay.
Yeah, it's worth noting, though, with the Maldives, while it's luxurious, the quality of the house reefs right at the resorts can vary quite a bit.
Ah, okay.
So if snorkeling is a big priority for you, doing a little research on the specific resort's reef is definitely a good idea.
Good tip. Okay, moving on. For those dreaming of just idyllic islands, Fiji is calling.
Ah, Fiji.
Known as the soft coral capital of the world. Just imagine that color.
It's supposed to be breathtaking.
And beyond the corals, you get seasonal visits from whales and manta rays, And for the thrill seekers, they even mentioned bull shark dives.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, Fiji's waters are really nutrient-rich, which helps those soft corals just flourish, creates these really dazzling underwater landscapes.
Sounds amazing. Next, the Solomon Islands, offering, they say, some of the finest snorkeling in the whole South Pacific.
Hmm.
Morovo Lagoon, the world's largest saltwater lagoon, apparently is a highlight. Thriving reefs, intricate sea fans, even shallow shipwrecks you can explore.
Like an underwater treasure hunt. The scale and just the variety of habitats in Morovo Lagoon must contribute to incredible biodiversity. Makes it pretty unique.
Yeah, really unique. Okay, and finally, for the truly adventurous, the off-the-beaten-path crew. These sound incredible.
Right.
Sipadan Island in Borneo. It formed on top of an extinct volcano.
Wow.
So the deep water currents well up around it, bringing this constant supply of nutrients, fuels an unbelievable amount of life.
Yeah.
600 species of coral, 1,200 types of fish.
That volcanic origin is absolutely key. It creates a unique structure, and those nutrient-rich currents are like a constant food delivery service for the whole ecosystem. Leads to that incredible density of species.
Mind-boggling numbers.
Yeah.
Then Papua New Guinea, boasting reefs that are largely untouched, plus a really distinct tribal culture.
Right. Very remote.
Kimby Bay is apparently so stunning it was voted one of the world's most beautiful reefs by National Geographic.
High praise.
And another place, Tufi, offers snorkeling amongst these dramatic sort of fjord-like inlets. Seems like a chance to really get away and experience raw nature.
Yeah, the remoteness of PNG has definitely helped protect many of its reefs, keeping them in incredibly pristine condition.
And last but not least, the Marshall Islands. Very few tourists, apparently friendly locals, vibrant reefs.
Okay.
And interestingly, since 2011, it's also been the world's largest shark sanctuary, which shows a real commitment to conservation.
That's fantastic. That dedication to creating a shark sanctuary really highlights the proactive steps some nations are taking, to protect their marine ecosystems. Definitely one for the list if you want something special and less crowded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so that Scubaverse article gave us this amazing virtual tour of where to go, but
Right.
it's important to remember that the health of these incredible places isn't guaranteed, right?
Not at all. And that brings us nicely to our second source, the guide from the Nature Conservancy. It really shines a light on the challenges these delicate ecosystems are facing globally.
And how tourism fits into the solution, not just the enjoyment.
Precisely. The guide presents some pretty sobering statistics, actually. They point out we've lost an estimated 50%, half of our living coral cover worldwide in just the last 3 decades.
50%. Wow.
And another 14% disappeared just between 2009 and 2018. That's a massive decline in a really short time.
It's truly alarming. And it just highlights how vital these ecosystems are. I mean, they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor.
Tiny fraction.
Yet, they provide essential habitat for a quarter of all known marine species.
A quarter. Incredible statistic.
Plus, they support over 1 billion people around the world, food, livelihoods, protecting coasts from erosion. You really can't overstate their importance.
No, you can't. And if you look at the economics, the Nature Conservancy estimates about 30% of the world's reefs are valuable to tourism, generating something like $36 billion globally each year.
36 billion.
Yeah. And just in the Caribbean, tourism tied directly to reefs brings in over $7.9 billion annually. That's a huge chunk of their economy.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, linking those two things. The guide points out that as these reefs degrade, as they lose their color and life.
They become less appealing.
Exactly. Tourists are less willing to pay to visit them. And this directly hits economies, like in the Caribbean, where tourism can be over 15% of their entire GDP, their gross domestic product.
That's a huge economic driver.
So protecting reefs isn't just, an environmental nice to have. It's a serious economic necessity for these places.
Precisely. And this is where that shift towards responsible tourism and even regenerative tourism becomes so critical.
What's the difference there exactly?
Well, sustainable travel aims to minimize the negative impacts, use resources responsibly. Regenerative travel tries to go a step further. It actively seeks to restore and improve the natural resources.
So not just do no harm, but actually try to make things better.
Exactly that. Moving beyond do no harm to actively improving the environment you're visiting.
And the guide really emphasizes there's a big opportunity here. especially, with tourism recovering post-pandemic and more travelers looking for sustainable options.
Yeah, there's a growing awareness.
The tourism sector could be a real force for good in coral conservation.
And what's encouraging is the focus on collaboration. The guide talks about this partnership between the Nature Conservancy, the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, and the UN Environment Program,
Right.
tackling this issue together. They actually did research to understand the views of people working right there in the Caribbean tourism industry.
Oh, interesting. And what did they find out?
Well, there's a decent baseline of awareness. Around 80% of the people they surveyed recognized how important healthy reefs are for their businesses.
That's pretty good.
And even better, over 70% said they were already involved in some kind of sustainability initiative. So that's a really positive starting point.
Okay, so the will is there for many.
That existing engagement is a fantastic foundation to build on. It suggests many in the industry are already motivated, they want to act.
But I'm guessing there were hurdles identified too.
Oh, definitely. The research also highlighted some big ones. A major issue is the lack of technical know-how and sharing knowledge about coral conservation.
So operators might know why it's important, but not how to do it effectively.
Exactly. How to plan, implement, monitor restoration projects. There was also limited awareness of existing partnerships they could join and a clear call for more government support and, crucially, policy enforcement.
Right. Those barriers really show where we need to focus efforts, don't they? Providing that technical guidance, connecting people.
Fostering connections, yeah, and advocating for stronger government policies to back it all up.
So what opportunities did the guide identify?
Things like creating platforms to share best practices, what's working, what's not, establishing recognition programs for businesses leading the way in conservation.
Like a certification or award?
Could be. Building networks so operators can learn from each other's successes and failures too. Developing easy-to-understand educational materials for tourists and locals. And they really stress involving governments and local communities actively. It has to be a joint effort.
Okay, so based on that research, what were the key recommendations?
Pretty actionable stuff. Investing in training to build up that expertise within the tourism sector. Launching targeted communication campaigns to raise awareness.
Both for tourists and the industry itself?
Yes, providing governments with solid data on the economic and ecological benefits of healthy reefs, increasing funding for conservation projects, and strengthening those partnerships between government agencies and the tourism industry.
Right, making it easier for everyone to work together.
Exactly.
Okay, expanding on that idea of proactive steps.
Yeah,
The guide, drawing on work by Martin Colignoly, I think,
that's right.
it lays out some specific responsible tourism strategies that can directly help the reefs.
Yeah, these are concrete actions you can take at the local level. One really crucial area is regulating diving and snorkeling.
How so?
Well, things like proper training, making sure people understand buoyancy control, not touching coral.
The basics, yeah.
Establishing marine protected areas, MPAs, where access is limited, and maybe even capping the number of visitors allowed at sensitive sites each day.
Okay, managing the pressure.
Exactly. Another big one is promoting eco-friendly products. Reef-Safe sunscreen is the obvious example here.
Right. I know some places have actually banned the harmful ones.
They have. Hawaii, Palau. They've banned sunscreens with specific chemicals known to harm corals. It's a significant step.
Sends a powerful message.
It does. It raises awareness and pushes for safer alternatives. Supporting sustainable infrastructure is also key.
Meaning
Proper wastewater treatment so pollution doesn't run off onto the reefs, and effective waste management reducing plastic, stopping debris from ending up in the ocean.
all crucial.
The guide also highlights encouraging ecotourism and actually getting tourists involved in conservation.
Like citizen science.
Yeah, or things like coral gardening programs, where visitors can actually help plant and care for new coral fragments. They mention examples in the Maldives and on the Great Barrier Reef.
That sounds like a great way to connect people to the issue.
It is. These hands-on experiences are good for restoration, but also incredibly educational. They foster a much deeper appreciation for these fragile ecosystems.
Absolutely. And finally,
supporting community involvement is vital. The guide mentions community-managed marine reserves in places like the Philippines and Indonesia.
so empowering locals.
Exactly, empowering local communities to be the stewards of their own resources. They have the direct connection, the traditional knowledge, and tourism can provide a sustainable income that supports conservation. It's often the most effective long-term approach.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if we dig a bit deeper into the actual, the nuts and bolts of doing coral restoration.
Right, the how-to.
Both the Nature Conservancy Guide And an NOAA monitoring guide offers some really valuable insights here.
Yeah, and the first critical point they both make is that restoration is generally a reactive measure, meaning it helps a damaged reef recover, but the main focus always needs to be proactive, reducing the threats causing the damage in the first place.
Like fixing a leaky roof example you used earlier, patch the holes, but also find out why it's leaking.
Exactly that. You have to address the root causes.
So the Nature Conservancy Guide suggests asking some key questions before you even start a project.
Yes, fundamental questions like what actually caused the reef to degrade? Are those underlying causes being dealt with? And how will this specific restoration effort fit into the bigger picture of managing the area?
Got it. You need a plan.
Absolutely. And the NOAA guide emphasizes a structured 6-step planning process, adaptive planning.
6 steps, okay?
Yeah. Set clear, measurable goals, carefully select the right sites, choose the appropriate restoration methods for those sites, develop a detailed action plan, implement the work, and then this is crucial, rigorously monitor and evaluate how well it's working.
And that's where their new monitoring guide comes in.
Exactly, to help people effectively measure progress and adapt their approach if needed.
The Nature Conservancy Guide also mentioned some core principles for doing restoration properly.
It did, stressing that projects must be based on sound ecological science, they have to be environmentally responsible, and they absolutely must comply with local laws and regulations.
So it's not just about sticking coral bits in the water and hoping.
Definitely not. It requires careful planning and execution. Identifying and involving all the key stakeholders is also paramount.
Who would they be, typically?
Everyone from local and international NGOs, community groups, scientific advisors, funders, the people actually doing the hands-on work, government regulators, local tourism associations. It's a collaborative effort.
Right. And they provided a checklist of best practices, too.
Yeah, a really useful one, covering everything from doing thorough ecological assessments first, addressing local threats, making sure it aligns with local management plans,
Okay.
considering the local context, getting permits, really engaging stakeholders, having a clear plan using reputable guidelines. They point to resources like the Reef Resilience Network and ICRI.
Good resources to know.
Building local capacity through training, working closely with communities, doing outreach and education, and very importantly, committing to learning and adapting based on what the monitoring tells you.
That continuous learning and adapting part seems so important, especially in complex systems like reefs.
It's essential. There's no single magic bullet. Being able to adjust your strategy based on what works and what doesn't is key for long-term success.
Okay. And finally, the Nature Conservancy Guide outlines some next steps to really boost collaboration in this whole area.
Yeah, basically how to scale things up. Developing long-term training programs to build that local expertise. Securing more consistent funding, both public and private.
Funding is always key.
Always. And working with governments to increase their support and just make it easier for the tourism sector to actually lead and participate in these vital restoration efforts.
Making it more accessible for them to get involved.
Exactly. It's all about creating a more supportive, enabling environment for effective coral conservation and really recognizing the powerful role tourism can and should play.
So, as we kind of come up for air after this deep dive, it's just incredibly clear how interconnected everything is.
Absolutely.
The health of these stunning coral reefs, the vibrancy of tourism, and the well-being of the communities that depend on them.
They're completely linked. Healthy reefs attract visitors, provide livelihoods, protect coastlines, and the tourism industry, with its resources and reach,
Has a big role to play.
it has a huge opportunity and arguably a real responsibility to be a leading force in protecting and regenerating them.
Right. And that brings us to a final, maybe a provocative thought for you listening. Considering the breathtaking beauty, but also the real fragility of these underwater worlds. What individual actions can you take? Whether you're a traveler making choices about where and how you go, or maybe you're part of a coastal community.
How can you contribute?
Yeah, how can you contribute to protecting and regenerating these vital ecosystems? We really encourage you to check out those resources we mentioned, the Reef Resilience Network, the International Coral Reef Initiative, ICRI.
Dive even deeper.
Exactly. Dive deeper and learn more about how you can make a difference.